What's up guys, Village Kev Talks here with another video. Something that I've noticed on this channel is that you guys seem to like the videos on gay dating in Europe, gay dating in San Diego, gay dating in Rio de Janeiro, and also the videos that are about the gay bars in various places in New York City and Los Angeles. So I figured why not do one video that is a direct comparison between the gay bars of Los Angeles and New York City. I've now been living in Los Angeles for 8 to 9 months, so I feel like I have a pretty good idea of the gay bar scene here, and I lived in New York City, as many of you guys know, for a very long time, for almost a decade. I did also spend last summer in Miami, so I thought about including that in this video, comparing the gay bars of LA to New York City and to Miami. But the thing is, truth be told, if you guys have been to Miami and to the gay bars in Miami, you know that it's just not really comparable to the bars of LA and New York City. There is most definitely a gay community in Miami, and specifically in South Beach, where most of like the cool gay bars are, but there's just too few to realistically compare to the gay bar scene of LA and the gay bar scene of New York City. So that's what I want to focus on in this video. Now, obviously there's significant differences between the gay bars in LA and the gay bars in New York City, but there are also some pretty significant similarities. The first one, of course, being that the bulk of the popular pop-in gay bars are all in one neighborhood that also happens to be like the gay neighborhood of that city. So in LA, that's West Hollywood, right? West Hollywood is the gay neighborhood, the gay mecca of Los Angeles. And in New York City, that would be Hell's Kitchen. So in these two neighborhoods, you find probably the most gay bars, the highest concentration of gay bars, but also the ones that are the most popular bars also. So not just a number of them, but they also tend to be the most crowded out of all the gay bars in each respective city. One interesting difference between Hell's Kitchen and West Hollywood is that Hell's Kitchen is more so yuppies, I would say. I feel like Hell's Kitchen is guys, meaning the people who live there and who frequent the bars tend to be guys in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. And part of that is because the old gay neighborhood used to be Chelsea, which is a bit farther down in Manhattan, right below Hell's Kitchen, actually. And then before that, it was the West Village. So I think it's just a generational thing. I think a lot of older gay men have stayed in the neighborhoods that used to be the gay neighborhoods back when they were younger. They still live there, or maybe they live elsewhere. But Hell's Kitchen, I think, skews younger, whereas West Hollywood, you really find all ages. For example, at a bar like Therapy or Industry in New York City, you're not going to see a bunch of 60-year-old guys. It just doesn't happen that way. There are bars where you will find much older guys in New York City, but not Therapy or Industry or any of those like really popular gay bars in this one like 5-block radius of Hell's Kitchen. Now in West Hollywood, that's not necessarily the case. Yes, there are very young guys. There's guys in their 20s, there's guys in their 30s, but there's also much older men out at the gay bars, especially I've noticed on Sunday afternoons, Sunday Fun Day as they call it. And I think that's because it's reflective of the community of the neighborhood. In West Hollywood, you have, again, people of all ages, but you do definitely have a lot of gay men who are established later in life, and they just ended up settling down in West Hollywood because it's a nice area to live in, residentially speaking. So it's interesting, right? Because you kind of have this like strip of bars in Hell's Kitchen. They're not all on the same street, but many of them are. And if not, the surrounding ones are in like a 5-block radius, I would say. And in LA, in West Hollywood, they're almost all on the same exact street on Santa Monica Boulevard. And a lot of people like to call that part of West Hollywood Boys Town because it's literally gay bar after gay bar after gay bar. Now, despite the fact that you have all these bars in one neighborhood in walking distance, there's obviously a huge difference between the LA gay bar scene and the New York City gay bar scene, in that in LA, you need a car to get around. It's a car city. So for me and people who live in West Hollywood, or maybe who only have an interest in going to West Hollywood, it's great because once you get there, you have all the bars there. But of course, there's other neighborhoods with gay bars, and you have to take a car to get there. So the lack of easy access kind of sucks. This creates an issue if you're somebody like me who has very little patience. Within 5 minutes of going into a bar, not even, I'd say like a minute, I know whether I want to stay there or not based on what I see, what the environment is like, maybe what the music is like, how crowded it is or how not crowded it is. So it kind of sucks if you're in a car city that you go to a bar in a different neighborhood and you're like, shit, now I kind of have to stay here because I just parked or I just took an Uber here and I had my first drink, but there's no other gay bar in walking distance. So that kind of sucks. The great thing about New York City, of course, is that if you don't like a bar, there's typically another gay bar in that neighborhood, even if it's not Hell's Kitchen. And if there isn't, there's always a cab somewhere, or more cost effectively, of course, there's the subway. Now, when it comes to other neighborhoods that have gay bars, the main one that people talk about in Los Angeles is Silver Lake. Silver Lake is kind of like the East Village of New York City, but in LA. So it's a more mellow crowd. It's less sort of showy and flashy and yuppie than Hell's Kitchen or West Hollywood even. It tends to be a more grungy crowd. The bars there are a bit more, they bring in a more kind of like rugged demographic. So in Los Angeles, you have Akbar, which is a well-known gay bar. You have Fault Line, which is more like a club meets bar. And then you, of course, have the Eagle in LA, the infamous Eagle that is in many cities at this point. It's the kind of bar where you have much older guys, more rugged, a lot of bears, that kind of thing. And I would say that the equivalent of Silver Lake in New York City is the East Village. And in the East Village, there was a very iconic bar that no longer exists now. It shut down a few years ago, but there was Eastern Bloc. But there is still Boiler Room, which is pretty famous, especially with the college kids of NYU because it's very close to NYU. And you have Phoenix, which is another very well-known bar in the East Village. Great thing about New York City is that it's not just limited to Hell's Kitchen and the East Village. You also have a lot of gay bars in the West Village, and you also have a lot of gay bars in Chelsea, of course, because of that history that, the Stonewall is in the West Village, so it kind of started there, the gay community having a public presence in New York City, and then it ended up migrating up to Chelsea, and then, of course, now Hell's Kitchen. Now, when it comes to LA, I feel like, I could be wrong, but I really feel like it's just West Hollywood and Silver Lake that there are gay bars that people actually go to, that there's an actual gay community and a gay bar presence. Something that I've noticed with the West Hollywood gay bars is that the drinks are very strong, like very, very strong. I don't remember them being that strong in New York City. They're also pricey, which, in New York City, they're also pricey. But I would say in LA, you get more for your buck because they really make the drink strong, from my observation. I don't know if that's an LA thing or just a West Hollywood gay bar thing. Another thing that's interesting is that arguably the busiest day in West Hollywood, again, this is more West Hollywood talk than LA talk, but in West Hollywood, there's this phenomenon of Sunday Fun Day. I'm sure many of you have heard of this. It's really a thing in West Hollywood. You are likely to find the bars at their peak, capacity or busyness on a Sunday afternoon or a Sunday evening, and I think that's because the weather's always nice in LA, so people want to be out. A lot of the bars too in West Hollywood have a patio section or an outdoor courtyard section, so of course that's more conducive to being out during the day as opposed to strictly at night. In New York City, it's not unusual to get to the gay bars at 11 p.m., midnight, even 1 a.m. I have friends who would show up at 1 in the morning at a bar because they've already been hanging out at somebody's apartment, let's say. And the bars in New York close really late. They mostly close at 4 in the morning. Whereas in LA, bars close at 2 a.m. It is interesting culturally that in New York, Fridays and Saturday nights are the busiest, easily. Whereas in LA, it's busy, but I would say Sunday Fun Day is really the highlight of the week. One final note on the gay bars in LA versus the gay bars in New York City is that I do think it's easier to meet people at a gay bar in New York City. I'm not sure if it's a cultural thing. I'm not sure how much of it is a cultural thing that in New York City people are maybe more talkative and more willing to just start a casual conversation. I'm not sure how much of it is that and how much of it is purely infrastructure, meaning in New York City, obviously it's an old city. Real estate all real estate in New York City is prime real estate. So most of these bars are small. A lot of them are just small dive bars. So they pack up really quickly. And when a bar is packed, it's easier to be a few feet away from somebody and make eye contact, right? Or even to brush against somebody and you're like, hey, hi, and you start talking. In LA, it's just a more spread out city. So these establishments are larger and therefore they don't get packed as easily from what I've noticed. And also just the fact that they're bigger, there's more distance between you and other people. So I have found that that seems to have an effect on the ease of talking to new people. That's just my observation. If you guys have been to the bars in LA and in New York City, I would love to hear your feedback and any other sort of comparative analyses you might have.